Good evening and welcome. My name is Taylor Kingman. As president of the Board of Trustees of the San Angelo Independent School District, I would like to welcome all of you who are present at tonight's Preagenda board meeting. We appreciate your interest in the activities of our students and the business of SAISD. All items that will be discussed at our meeting this evening have been posted as required by state law. Also, as you may be aware, our board meets a minimum of 2 times per month, and most of the items on our agenda this evening will be discussed tonight and voted upon at our regular board meeting. As members of the SAISD Board of Trustees, we are here to set goals, listen to reports from our superintendent, approve budgets, contracts, and personnel appointments, and to make policy for the district. Please keep in mind that our meeting is a meeting of the Board of Trustees held in public and not a meeting of the public. However, we do have a public comment item on our agenda that allows anyone present who wishes to speak to our board team on an item that is not on our action agenda or an action item on the agenda an opportunity to do so. Please provide your name and contact information and the specific topic you wish to address on a public comment form located at the back of the room prior to tonight's meeting. Please listen carefully and comply with the following rules so we can move through that part of the meeting efficiently. Each speaker will be given a total of 3 minutes. The district will provide an official timekeeper. Please respect the privacy of others and refrain from identifying students, employees, or other community members by name. Disruption of the meeting will not be tolerated at any time. Comments on any subject, whether positive or negative, must be courteous and respectful. Comments are limited to the specific topic you indicated on the form you filled out, and any speaker with a specific complaint about a district employee, decision, operational issue should present that complaint through the appropriate mechanism, which is the district's formal grievance process. Please understand if you offer a public comment that the board cannot reply to you except to thank you for your comments, since the matter has not been posted for discussion. I ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking. I also ask, as I remind my fellow board members, to please turn off or silence your cell phones. Again, thank you for being here and for your support of SAISD. So we do have a quorum this evening. Our entire board team is present. So if everyone will stand with me, we will address the pledges of the United States and Texas. All right. Next on our agenda is public comments. We do have one public comment this evening. It's Jamal Shumpert, and it's regarding curriculum and instruction.
Hello, board. My name is Jamal Shumpert. I want to talk to you guys about curriculum and instruction. I believe TEA or some of the curriculum you purchase from Blue Blinded is actually the key to success for your learning. Not necessarily the Christian criteria, but how it's laid out and formatted. I will bring, next time I come up here, I will bring actual lesson plans that'll show you where step by step teachers can teach, and it'd be, amazing. It covers the Bloom's taxonomy, higher level of thinking in each lesson plan. And each lesson plan is like probably 110 minutes, but this is probably gonna lay the foundation for education for years forward. I mean, TEA, it comes from a school that was taken over by TEA, but they chose to keep these things, and they just kept adding and adding and adding. And as a result, they end up having one of the schools in the top 4 in the nation coming out of the state of Texas. So it is very effective. I don't want to bag on your curriculum and instruction department much, but it needs a full-on modernization. My son, he came from K through 12, and he's pretty bored in class, and we all know once they get bored, they start doing stuff to get them in trouble. That's kids. It doesn't matter if you think your kid's perfect. I don't want to blame the teachers, because if they don't have good curriculum to teach, they can't be the greatest teachers they can be. And I wanted you guys also to to pay attention to some of the statistics you're getting. Some of these things, I don't think you can make a sound decision based off the statistics. For instance, your round resident program, our information requested some information about it. Certain things like how long these teachers stay, whether they certified or not, whether they're still working with the district or not, is not statistics that are given to the public or I guess to you guys either. Just a good example of that is last week, the last meeting I was at, one of your persons for security comes up and says, if there were any security threats, they were resolved. It is no issue. Hey, we all know what happened this last week. And I would also suggest people would not like this, but a clear bag policy, that kind of stops that. But eventually, if you don't do anything about it, you're going to want to have to put metal detectors because eventually it's going to go off, whether on purpose or accident. That's my only warning. I've seen it in much larger districts. Let's not think that we won't. It can happen to us, is what I'm saying, because it can. And y'all doing a pretty good job. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move forward with our updates and reports. First is Ms. Becerra. She's going to come up with a summary of findings of TA intruder detection audit conducted by ESC staff.
Dr. Moran, Dr. Kingman, and members of the board, thank you for your time tonight. We have had 2 intruder detection audits in the month of November and the first week of December. Any findings and corrective actions needed, if any, have been addressed by our campus administration. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have the construction update, and who's doing that? Mr. Danhot, Mr. RJ Lopez from Park Hill.
All right, Dr. Kingman, Dr. Moran, and members of the board, we're happy to be back out here giving an update on design and construction of your school facilities for the bond, 2025 bond. As always, we're going to keep talking about the schedule and project deadlines over the course of the next 4 years. And currently, it has not changed based on what we said we'd do during the bond and over the course of the project. So we're still moving towards these same deadlines. Same thing with the more detailed schedule. We've brought on Lilo's Construction now for many of the projects, and we'll be working with them on a more detailed schedule of each project and to make sure that these make sense as far as phasing and scope goes. But currently, we're still on track for the more detailed schedule as well. And we'll go ahead and just kind of give an overview of each project. Crockett is still on schedule to be completed in August. They've completed the concrete slab currently, so I think I've got some pictures following, but those are actually from a week or two before. It's moving along pretty quickly. You can see some of the rebar and concrete foundations going in, as well as some of the plumbing. But at this point, if you drive by, you can see some of the concrete slab going in, and they actually are scheduled to receive steel framing towards the end of the month, and you'll start seeing vertical construction at the 1st of January. So you'll actually start seeing the form of the building taking shape over there at Crockett. So that's moving forward on schedule. Next project is McGill, which is also on schedule, actually a little bit ahead of schedule, and it's scheduled to bid currently this month and then start construction at the first of the year. So that'll be another second project from the 2025 bond that'll be going under construction, which is exciting to see. Next project is the Glenn New Middle School, and we've been working through the schematic design. We've finished up a majority of the schematic design development book, which just outlines all the spaces, how they're laid out on site and in the building, just to make sure we have all the right spaces and all the right adjacencies, and then that it still fits within budget. So we're almost completed with that process and moving on to design development for the Glen New Middle School. And so on the next one, you can see the current site plan and showing some of those buildings on the east side that are showing to be demolished. On the left there, you can see a shape that looks kind of like a one. We were calling the plan the big one because it kind of looked like that, but kind of showing where that future middle school would be there on the left. And then we're starting to refine the site plan so you can see the little round dots showing trees and some of the parking areas on the north and west side there, and then also the outdoor play area in between the building, which is in orange on the left, and then the field, which is on the east there, and that connection between the new middle school and the field. And so making sure that the students are able to access the field and the play or outdoor eating area. It's not as much of a playground, I guess, when they get to middle school, still in the in-between. But just making sure the site circulation works well for the students and staff and administration. All right. Same thing that we're doing with the site plan, we're doing with the floor plan. So refining bathroom locations and classroom locations. We've recently had meetings with the special education department to make sure that some of those adjacencies and the location in the building and the amount of spaces best meet their needs. And we're kind of doing that with each department as we go through it to make sure athletics and fine arts, administration, the kitchen area, everybody kind of has a chance to look at each area as we refine it a little bit more to make sure everybody's kind of moving in a direction that makes sense for the next 50, 60, 70 years of this new middle school. Let's see, on the left there is the ground floor plan, and then on the right is the second floor plan. So you can see it's just a classroom block on the second floor. And I think we've kind of ran through some of those overall department layouts previously, but we're just refining those as we go. And then another thing we'll be doing in design development is starting to look at the exterior materials. So right now we're just kind of showing opportunities for glass and opportunities for solid wall, but eventually we'll start refining whether there's brick in certain areas or metal panel or kind of what those materials are and where exactly there is glass based on solar studies and energy analysis. So a lot of that stuff is going to start becoming a lot more real over the next couple months. And so hopefully we'll be able to start bringing you some little bit more exciting imagery for the exterior over the next couple months for Glen. And then another thing that we look at is just, this is a cut through the building showing some of the volumes of the space. So that bottom one kind of shows how the classrooms are stacked there with the commons space in the middle that's 2-story. So trying to see how we get light deeper into the building. So right now the current building doesn't have a lot of natural light, but we want to make sure that almost every space within this building has access to natural light. So we like to study that, and then we also weigh that with the energy impact. And so it's like you have all these things competing, and we want to make sure that we try to have a balance of it all if possible. So. All right, and so that was Glen Middle School. Next,
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, go ahead.
On Glen, I know we're looking at mostly at new construction, but on the site plan page, I know initially there was discussion about the band hall becoming a facility for the gym and the newer buildings that are not part of the circle being repurposed? Is that we don't think there's space for those at the moment? We're just kind of just curious because they're not on.
Yeah, no,
that.
it's a great question. And we looked at plans and options where we could keep some of those buildings. And we're still looking at keeping the band hall on the bottom right, that orange building. So that could still be a great building for a weight room or athletic storage. The buildings between the field and the new building, we're creating a much larger path between the new building and the field when we were trying to get students between the two spaces. And it was also creating issues with the grading of the site. So the elevation that we could put the building at and the elevation that we could put the field at was kind of being dictated by these existing buildings that were on site. And so when we started looking at ramps and stairs and the extra path that it would take, it started to actually get more costly to keep those buildings in place than to try to reuse those buildings that were in between the field and the new middle school. And so
there was a lot of discussion about this. Part of it, and I don't want to get ahead of you, but I think there's some concern about the site just north of the field, the stadium field, and what they might find as far as boulders and the foundation there. There was a lot of talk about that, but I remember the engineers really having deep discussion about the cost of the dirt work in that area versus not keeping the buildings. And that's what caused this conversation to move that field more west.
Yes.
And closer to the new junior high.
It puts it at a elevation that's a little bit more in between. Instead of putting it at the top of the hill, we were going to end up putting it at the top of the hill and then having to do a lot of infill at the bottom of the hill towards the stadium. And like I said, it was getting very expensive, and there was a lot of unknowns with having to go down underneath the existing building as far as rock goes. And the more we looked at site plans and the potential for issues, by moving the field closer to the building, there's going to be a lot less cut and fill, and then the students are going to be quite a bit closer to the building as well, or between the building and the track.
Just a comment, I mean, when they built that stadium, they took all that dirt out, rock and all that, and just moved it over there. Then they built the school on top of that. I remember when they did the West Texas rehab right there, they were pulling out these massive boulders out because they were just, they threw dirt on top of all that old stuff and leveled it out. But then, when they had to do construction on, there was a lot of big rocks they had to pull out of there. So I'm glad y'all looked at that.
Yeah, we showed options for a while that had both, and we were kind of moving the field back and forth and the building back and forth and looking at cut and fill as far as where we'd have to build up and pull down. And this kind of ended up in the sweet spot where I think for the longevity. And those buildings were kind of curved and in not an ideal location too. So trying to connect to those with the new building didn't quite make sense for over the next 70 years. So.
Yeah, we want to make sure we're making decisions that are good for 70 years. So, okay. So just for orientation, that field that is drawn right now is basically over where the boys' gym and the new buildings are currently.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, the new field is over those existing classroom buildings.
RJ, what's the, I guess on the east side of the stadium, that yellow colored thing?
Shot put and
Oh,
district
that's like-
field.
okay.
Yeah, track events. Yep. So we might not actually need as many as we have shown, but you have room and space over there, which is nice if you do need it. So we're kind of, I think the two at the north would be potentially one for each, and then you could have a couple up in the south and east if you need. All right. And then moving on to Lakeview. I know we talked a lot about Lakeview last time because it had had quite a few developments since the prior. So we'll just say that we're working on executing the contract and getting Lee Lewis really looking at the project. And then we've been having additional meetings to move into the design development phase. And so we'll start to be able to take some of these sketchy 3D blocks and start really showing you something more refined with actual materials and colors and shapes that'll be the final product. All right, Central High School. So it's getting closer to the end of its schematic design. Obviously, it's one of the larger, more complicated projects, so it's taken a little bit longer than, say, Lakeview to get here, but we've started to actually get some massing and floor plans completed, and I've got some imagery to show with that. Just for context, to kind of show you, of course, it's kind of hard to see, but the dotted area is where we're looking at building the new auditorium, gym, cafeteria, kitchen, and then renovating the existing cafeteria and kitchen to be the health science and culinary space. Let me see. Yeah, so just in the bottom there where the existing Sarah Bernhardt is. Another thing that we're looking at is this is actually showing the new floor plan overlaid with some of the existing utilities. And it's pretty common to have existing utilities on a site like this, but what's uncommon is that one of the utilities is actually a main water line for the city that travels just north of the existing cafeteria, south of the Sarah Bernhardt. And so we're working with the city right now on relocating that main water line to not be traveling through the middle of your campus. And so we're also looking at the long-term vision of the campus to make sure if we do move it, it's not going to have to be moved again in a future bond. And so trying to ensure that everything that we do has the final goal in mind. And so we've started some of those, and the city was very happy to have those conversations because they would like it not running through the middle of campus as well. So we'll be working through that. This shows a little bit more refined colored floor plan of where that takes place on the campus. And the purple there is the auditorium. The orange is the new gymnasium. And then the dark gray to the right of that would be the new kitchen and cafeteria. And I'll zoom in there. I'll just give you context for the site there. And so you would have your main auditorium would be kind of one of the first things that a visitor would see. So kind of the showpiece on the campus, and give them clear vision of where they need to go if they're going to an event on campus. And then just right next to that would also be the gymnasium. So kind of those two things where the community has to visit would be one of the first two things that you see. And they would actually have that red area shown there is we're kind of calling a more public lobby. So it would be a lobby space or hallway that would access the auditorium on the left or the gymnasium on the right. And then if you go further to the right on the other side of the gym, that's more of the kind of campus lobby or hallway that would provide access on the right to the cafeteria and on the left to the gymnasium. And then if you go straight, it would go into the remainder of the campus. So I've got a little bit more zoomed in version of that. And so you can start to see that we're looking at a little bit more refined lobby space and how the circulation works as far as the lobby of the auditorium there with restrooms. And we're looking at the back of house student area and dressing rooms and how to make sure that those are separated from the public lobby space. Same thing with the gymnasium. A majority of the ground floor space would be kind of more public or student space, and then all the locker rooms would actually be on the basement level, separated from the main concourse. And so there would be stairs and elevators for students and athletes to be able to go down to the locker room space, and to be able to access the court from the ground floor and not necessarily have direct access from the stage or concourse level. And then to the right of that, that's where you start to see the dark area is the dark gray area. Just to the right of the gymnasium is the cafeteria and serving area, and then the light gray to the right of that is the kitchen. Then to the right of that is your health suite with your health classrooms, and then lastly you have your culinary. And actually, I think I switched those up. It goes culinary first with your culinary classrooms, and then you have your health classrooms and a health suite for that CT area where you're renovating your existing cafeteria and kitchen. Any questions on the floor plan? I know it's kind of zoomed out there, and we're starting to get more zoomed in where we're showing every janitor closet and IT space, but that's kind of the big picture of what it's laid out. And eventually the thought is that this hallway that we're showing between the gym and the cafeteria would connect to another addition of, say, new classrooms or a new auxiliary gym, or the future additions to this campus that puts the campus all under one roof. So that was a consideration as well, the next few phases of the project and how a student experiences the campus in the future. All right. Once again, on this one, we've got massing, where we're just kind of studying what those volumes look like now. We're going to start looking at actual materials and actual locations of glass for the building, and so that'll become more refined over the next few months. And then same thing here with kind of the section through the building. You can see that pink one right in the middle there is the stage, and so you can see the fly tower where the drapes and the rigging all goes up. That's kind of the highest point of the building, and then the house or the seating area to the left, and then the lobby. And so we're just always kind of looking at how those work together, because it influences how it feels inside, but also how it looks from the outside. So once again, another balance of aesthetics and function. All right, and then these are just some of the sketchy early images of what the gymnasium could start to look like with that kind of bowl feel, and just showing some of the opportunities for glass into the lobby space on either side, and obviously the concourse that wraps around the gymnasium with access to restrooms and concession. And so obviously this is very early on and not necessarily going to be blue seating even, but it kind of just gives you a snapshot of where we're at and kind of the general feel of the gymnasium. And I think that is the last image of the update. Any questions? We've been very busy. Y'all have been very busy. A lot of meetings. A lot of great feedback and participation on y'all's staff side. And
Any questions for Mr. Lopez?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
And you may have said it and I missed it, but do you know about how many seats will the auditorium will seat?
yes, of course, I had it listed in a previous presentation, and now I've removed it. I'll have to get back to you on it. I want to say, yeah.
Thank you. I was thinking you may have said it one time. I just couldn't remember the number.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, I want to say 1,000 in the auditorium.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to say it's 1,000, 2,000, and 1,000 as far as the spaces go.
Okay,
But I'll get you the for sure numbers.
Thank you.
Yep. We knew it was coming, and somehow didn't get it back on there. We talked about it earlier this week.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
All right, thank y'all. See you.
All right, we're going to go through our proposed agenda for next week. We have an invocation, pledge, recognitions, and then we have information items. I think, Carl, you'll be doing the one next week for the construction update. Next week will be Carl. And then Dr. Gomez, our update on academic programs next week will be?
Yes, sir. It will be our campuses and school improvement based on our past reports. So we'll go into specifics for those campuses.
Perfect. And then we'll have demographic study update. Zondo will be here?
They will be. I believe Rocky Gardner's coming next week. We worked with him before, and he'll give the board an overview of what he presented to our cabinet this week, and essentially lay the foundation for some decision-making that we as a district will have to make in the next year or two.
And is there any way we can get that presentation?
If I can get my hands on it, I'll give it to you. They just went over it with us.
Okay.
They didn't give it to us, but we'll see what we can
Okay.
get.
And then long-range planning discussion.
And that's really dovetailing on the demographic study, because as a board, we'll have to make some decisions in certain order and timeline. I'd like to talk to you openly about that. And what I plan to do is send you some information to process before Monday's discussion, and then Monday we'll have a deeper conversation about just the conversations we've had internally, and our goal is to put the board in the best position possible to make the best decisions for the community, and we'll try to get that set for you all, but we'll have conversation next week about that.
So that'll be kind of a discussion based on the presentations that we've received over the last couple of months.
Yes, all
but
fall.
no decisions making. Okay.
And then the demographic study,
Okay.
and then just a general conversation about decreasing or declining enrollment, budget planning, staffing, academics, all of those things combined to help us plan for the next few years.
Perfect. All right, then we'll have consent items. We're going to have a pre-agenda, our regular board meeting, agenda minutes. Then we'll have curriculum and instruction materials. Can we hear about that tonight, Mr. Henry? So that
Thank you all for having me tonight. Every year, we create a catalog bid for the vast array of curriculum and instruction supplies and materials used in the program throughout the district. This is our bid for these products. Additional vendors can be added throughout the contract period upon board approval. The catalog bid allows budget managers to select from a varied list of vendors to meet the needs of the campus and department. Any item with a cost of over $10,000 or more will require an attempt to obtain 3 quotes for the approved vendor from an approved vendor. This contract period is from February 1st, 2025 through January 31st of 2030. Do you all have any questions over this?
any questions for Mr. Henry? Looks like about the same number of vendors. It's fairly consistent from years previous as far as number of vendors and.
It might have dipped down a little bit. I mean, there's still a ton of them on there, but we still have the ability to add more with board approval as needed.
Any questions regarding the curriculum instruction? So those are just vendors that can be used, were approved so that people can order through them. All right, good with, everyone okay with consent? All right. Next, we're going to cooperative purchasing organizations. Mr. Henry, you're up again.
The law requires that the board approves cooperative purchasing organizations that are used by the district. These are reported along with the associated fees. This item will list the agencies and any fees that we pay for the services. This has pretty much every purchasing cooperative that we're a member of and what fees they are that they charge us. Most of them don't. There's just 2 or 3 that do. At this time, we ask that we approve all the purchasing co-ops as presented.
Only question on this one I had was, is West Texas Food Service Co-op Region 17, is that our new thing with that we do? Is that co-op that's just us in a couple districts?
That one's more of a MOU between us
It's
and
MOU,
them.
okay.
Yes.
So it's not truly a co-op. That was the only one I
Correct.
didn't recognize on here, so.
I don't want to get in the middle of their business, but I think it's different products. It may be things that we buy as a group from one and not the other.
Okay.
It's the same idea.
Yes.
Same idea, but we don't have to have that listed. I just knew it was, okay. Perfect. Any other questions? All right. So we'll keep that on consent. So, Mr. Henry, the maintenance, transportation, and miscellaneous supplies bid.
This last one is just an adder. This is a bid that's already been approved, and we have an additional vendor that we would like to add. It is attached to your packet.
All right. This is an ad. Everyone okay with that being consent? All right, we will keep all of those as consent. Thank you, Mr. Henry. All right, next we have our action items for next week. Dr. Brandon, you want to give us an update on our interlocal agreement for inter-district transportation?
Just a couple of quick comments. So we're still waiting on some clarification from TEA and from legal counsel. I sent the actual Senate bill to both of them, and anytime, not anytime, but sometimes when it's written in legislatively, you need to make sure of the intent. And so there's a couple of things that I've highlighted for them to give us feedback so that we don't take an action that may not be supported by TEA. And so I hope to have, I've told both of them I need those before Friday so that I can send Friday fax to the board just with some information leading up to Monday.
Okay. And just so we're clear, as promised, we will be voting on this next Monday, regardless if that information gets here or not. All right. I think we're prepared to vote on it one way or the other, and then if we have to vote again, we'll deal with that, but we'll go from there. Obviously, unless 2 board members want to pull it, then we can make motions, but plan would be to vote on that next week. All right. How about, Dr. Branding, our bid with E3 Integral?
I think, too, just a note on that, E3 will be here for that meeting, and so they'll present the board with the pricing that they received from various contractors and equipment providers. They'll provide a timeline and what the guaranteed maximum price will be for the scope of the project. So the board will get to hear all of that, and then our goal being that that would then go to legal, and the superintendent would be authorized to negotiate the final details of that contract, but the board would already know what was being purchased, what work is being done, and what the price will be.
And if maybe you, for the maintenance department next week, you kind of give a brief, for people who haven't been on the board as long, a synopsis of why making all of the controls, those of us who've been on for a while kind of have heard about the cost of the controls over and over again, but maybe an understanding of why we're having to modernize the controls throughout the district would be good for that, or that can be in Friday fax if that's.
We might could do both.
Okay.
I'll kind of try to tag team with E3, but we'll try to put some of those numbers together before Friday as well.
Just an understanding of why we're updating things that are.
Dr. Brandon, is E3 acting sort of as a kind of our CMA, our liaison between them and the people that do the work, so that we do have all these electronic controls synchronized moving forward. Is that why we're using E3? I know we've done a lot of work with E3 in the past. They've been a good partner for sure. Is that the reason we're using it for the overall HVAC project slash?
Yeah, as part of they were the design build concept where they come in and develop the scope of the project, design out the project.
Okay, right.
And then walk all of the spaces with contractors that would then bid, and then take input from the district as far as the equipment that would be put in place, and then come back with a package price for the overall, and then they'll oversee all of the work as it goes into place.
Okay.
And as part of that too, we'll have a third party architect, and so our goal being that KFW would oversee that. So you have to have that in place. So KFW would be our third party oversight.
All right, good. All right. Thank you.
Any questions regarding that? All right. Next is TASB Policy Update 126. Dr. Gomez, do you have anything you want to say tonight? I have a few questions and things I want to bring up to the board if you don't.
Okay, well, that was my first question for all of you. With the length of this update, it was shared by Mrs. Ramirez with a lot of advance notice, but it's a lot of reading. So checking in on questions or specifics for next week, we can definitely highlight those for you.
So
just for the
board, just for y'all's sake, and I read through all this, and I know it was on a jump drive a month ago too, but one thing on page 51 of our agenda tonight, which is in BE local, state legislatures making us it is a state law that we should vote on an item by either roll call or a show of hands in the future. So at the moment, the way I was thinking about doing this, unless someone has a better idea, is we can continue, obviously on contentious things, we can kind of do roll call already on things that we have been moving forward, like consent agenda and things like that. I was thinking we would continue to say aye, but I just need everyone to start raising their hand when they say aye, okay, just so that we can follow the law. That was one thing I saw that actually has to change our function of how we run through the meeting a little bit. It's not a big thing, but just, and then if you are against, when we say aye, you raise your hand as well. But that way we don't have to do a roll call vote for every single vote we're going through.
And Dr. Kingman, that's going to help Ms. Ramirez. She's recording the vote for every action item that's required by law, and that'll help her with a visual.
And then, so that's good. And then the other thing I saw was on page 61, and I'm going to have Dr. Moran just explain, because I asked him about it, I just wanted to explain it to the rest of the board. In facilities construction is about the district shall not make final payments for construction until the work has been accepted by the board, and just what exactly qualifies as acceptance by the board for that to happen.
Typically, the completion, when we get a certificate of occupancy and we're in the building, and there's kind of a finality there with final payment, but there's always punch list items, there's warranty items that can go on for a full year, beyond that or more sometimes. But typically, when you get your certificate of occupancy and the completion of the project is done, final payment is completed and we're good. But we'll be keeping the board abreast of all of that. When we get to that point, we'll be talking to you, and Park Hill will also be mentioning this as well, because it's important to them. Some of you are familiar with the term liquidated damages, and usually in the contract, if the contractor goes beyond the completion date, then they have to pay us for liquidated damages for those days that they haven't completed the project. So the completion date is important to them, it'll be important to us, and we'll make sure that you're in every step of the way at that point.
And those were my two that kind of, I just want to make sure we knew what rules we were following. Most of this looks to me, and board credit, is they're all local. There are a lot of local policies, but it's legal updates to local policy based on the most recent legislature. There aren't a lot of nuances that are actually local changes for us. It's just, it's where the policy exists in our update, is that they are local policies, but they are local policies being dictated by state legislature. That's the way I kind of look through it. Any other questions or comments?
Dr. Gomez, just by definition, a few things. Page 66 under DEC local concerning employee compensatory time. I'm trying to figure out what state sick leave accumulated before the 1995/96 school year has to do with 30 years ago. I'm just curious. I mean, it may have been in there before, but it just struck me as unusual.
There are very few employees left that applies to, but we do still have some serving. And so they're falling off every year, but we have a very few that still have some leave.
So their sick leave can roll forward from 30 years ago?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Yeah. My next question is on page 86 of the panel. Concerns DH local employee standards of conduct under weapons prohibited. The district prohibits the use of possession and display of firearm restricted with the exception of an district employee who holds a handgun license in accordance with the state law. I assume that's a concealed carry, but that exception, I'm not sure what the school stance is on staff carrying weapons,
I
even
can
if they
address
have
that.
that.
Yeah, I can address that. No employee of the district can conceal carry or open carry on a campus without the board's approval. And with that being said, it is legal for an employee to possess a weapon in their vehicle if they carry it
Yes.
legally. Yes, if it's in the parking lot. And the parking lot is not an instructional classroom at the time. I mean, there's a lot of legalese there, but to your point, and to make sure the public hears this as well as the board, no one in the district is allowed to carry except our SROs. And if any other person were to, or other law enforcement agents on campus, but if a person were authorized by the board to conceal carry, then they would also be allowed to do that. But to my knowledge, there's not one person in our district authorized.
Okay, all right, thanks.
There are none to any of our knowledge.
Right.
Okay, to our knowledge, correct, yeah.
Yep.
They can't carry on campus yet. Maybe in their car legally, but not, okay. And then page 94, sorry to be so picky, EFA, instructional resources, instructional materials, that first quote there, access to challenge material should not be restricted during the reconsideration process, except the district may deny access to a child if requested by the child's parents. Has that always been there, or similar?
That has not
language?
always been there. That was one of the new changes that came about in this legislative session. So it really resonates with the legislative sessions from this past summer with what you continue to hear, parental rights. And so that was increased parental rights.
Good, thank you. Page 96 and 97, EHBAF. Local special education video auditing, monitoring. Video recordings should be retained for at least 3 months after the date of recording, but may be retained for a longer period in accordance with the district's records management programs or as required by law. Is that new, or is that standard policy for our district for 30 days?
That's
Excuse me, 3 months.
That's
not
standard.
3 months, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we're currently in accordance with that policy?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. And finally, page 102, sorry. FFAC, local wellness and health services, medical treatment. Our campuses are carrying on campus the technically the Narcan approved drug. Our campuses do have that.
Yes, we do have that. Mhm.
Okay.
We've had that for 3 years now?
Yes, all secondary campuses.
All secondary campuses, okay. Okay. I was just trying to see how that was written for sure. Okay. Okay, that's all I have.
I think, Dr. Keeman, it's actually 4 years now.
Okay.
That's why I paused for a second.
Any other questions regarding TASB Policy 126?
And thank you for your efforts on this, Dr. Gomez. Huge amount of material.
Yeah.
But if that's the way we need to govern, we need to make sure that's what we hold our standard to, whether we understand all of it or not. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for that help.
If anyone sees something over the next week, if y'all will please email Dr. Moran and or Dr. Gomez so that we can make sure those questions are answered before we get to the meeting, for all of us before the meeting next week, so that we can still vote on the update. Is trying to pull one of these would be difficult as the way the policy, the way it is. So if there's some question, just make sure we get with Dr. Moran, or you can email or get to me, and we'll make sure the questions get answered. All right. Any other questions? All right, Dr. Gomez, your favorite thing of the year, school calendar. It was in our Friday Facts.
Yes, sir. In your Friday Facts, you had 2 calendar options. I'd like to provide a little further feedback. So the committee that works with calendar options directly is the SAISD Community-Based Accountability System Committee. We have over 150 stakeholders on that committee, including parents, community members, staff, and even some students. And so in the Friday Facts, I gave the specific screenshots from the form, but I wanted to provide information that there were several committee members that gave feedback during the meeting. So not every committee member, it went to every committee member, but not every committee member entered the survey. So specifically, there are certain things the district always tries to take in consideration right off before presenting any calendar options. One, it's been very important in this community that San Angelo ISD has the same spring break as Angelo State University. So Angelo State releases theirs in advance, and we always run the same. It's also important to this community that we don't go over into the month of June. You have some school districts that go over in the regular school year past the month of May. So we try to work to finish before June 1st. Many of you that are on the board now and that were during the 23-24 school year, you approved the addition of what we refer to as instructional planning days. Coming out of COVID, that's when the talk from teachers about the amount of work that they have to take home was really resonating. So those instructional planning days, we don't pull for professional learning. We don't keep them in meetings. Now, I want to provide some clarity. As we've had to tighten up to make academic improvements, we do have district-wide professional learning communities. So it's not a free of you just go to your class and do whatever you wish to do for the workday. There are some requirements for the day. The days were devoted for teachers to have time to work on the lessons and the assessments for the instructional grading period. So they weren't having to take home so much and do that on their own. So with the 23-24 school year, that's when those were added, and those have been kept on the calendar. It's also always important that we provide clarity with the 5-job families and the number of employees we have. For any new professional, we have what we refer to as a new district academy. Those days count towards their trade requirements because principals and hiring managers hire all the way up through the start of the school year. And so we try to do those as late as possible in July, early August. But returning professionals are not required to attend on those days. And then in 2015, with the change of required number of days on the school calendar to the number of required minutes, that's when our district stopped designating bad weather days that had been seen specifically on calendars in advance of that 2015 change. So those are just some of your general overviews. This will be this school year, so I'm not trying to mix the two, but I want to give the comparisons. for the number of years I've been working on the calendar, the request has been for the Monday after Easter to be a holiday. We do see attendance issues with many not returning that Monday. The state assessment accountability calendar has not always had the same flexibility. So there has been testing that same time, so the district was unable to make that Monday a holiday until this year with the 25-26 school year. That was the number one request, that we kept that Monday after Easter as a holiday. Easter drives a whole lot of a school district's calendar. When Easter is early, it makes for a very long end of the school year. We looked at every way possible to plan in a holiday in April. So the new changes for state accountability won't be in effect in 26-27. And I'll just hold up this one sheeter from TEA on testing. There is some sort of state assessment every day in the month of April for this calendar year. So that's why when you see feedback, we were unable to put a day in April, but honoring the Monday after Easter on one of the two options. It falls very late March, as late as possible, but it will be an extended amount of time from April until May in 2027.
So I have a couple of questions on it. And I'm sorry I didn't email y'all in advance, but
Okay, and this is what I wanted to hear, so then I can talk more.
I know in the past, Veterans Day has always been a hitting point one way or the other. It's definitely been a hitting point when it's a Monday or a Friday. But Veterans Day on a Wednesday, I know one of the calendar options has Veterans Day as Wednesday as an option. And this is for the board to discuss. I wonder about our community and child care on a Wednesday holiday for Veterans Day, because I don't feel like most of our employers in town honor Veterans Day. I know we have several veterans in our district. I know I don't want to by any means discredit Veterans Day, but Wednesday, Veterans Day holiday, I wonder about just the logistics of that for our community and child care, et cetera, for working parents. So that's one question. And then the second question I have is on the two calendars and I'll forget if it's A or B, so as I don't have it in front of me at the moment. On the one that does not have the Easter Monday holiday, it actually starts on the Tuesday and does not have the Easter Monday. So I guess my question, but that's the one that doesn't have Veterans Day. And so I guess my question is, is there an option to where we looked at having the Monday Easter for people so that they do have a holiday towards the end of March or early April? But then, this isn't my rodeo, I'm just talking about the Wednesday, what y'all think about the Wednesday holiday as having school Monday, Tuesday, and a holiday Wednesday and school Thursday, Friday, whether that's really logistically what we should be doing, or should we bank that for the years that Veterans Day can be a long holiday weekend for those parents and try and honor that in that way, and instead try to honor our veterans with things on campuses those days because it is a Wednesday.
So Dr. Kingman, I definitely want to open up to the others. That was the lengthiest discussion in that CBAS meeting. And there were a group of parents that asked specifically if the district was unable to have a holiday during the week, which we are able. We did respond that we always first take into consideration the impact and why we have our instructional planning days on Mondays or Fridays, because we know families have to find childcare. But there was a group that felt very strongly about us considering it. And so as we compiled calendar options, we felt to at least first bring it forward. Also with the other, there was discussion about possibly putting it during that week, because we have a very active military community that we're very grateful for. And there was a little bit of just differing opinions, even from the committee members, in a group that felt very strongly about their children attending Veterans Day because they liked the fact that they got to attend the ceremonies on the campuses. and they wouldn't always necessarily get to do that if they were working. They wouldn't be able to report. And there was another group that, because one of the things we also talk about on this committee is the importance of attendance. They said, well, we're hearing y'all report that attendance is important. This is a day we get off. So if this is a day we could be together as a family, we would just like you to consider it. So I don't know that there is one answer that would appease everyone, but that's where that came from. But going back to the Monday or the Friday, where professional learning fell, there was already a November professional learning day. And so that too was discussed. Well, that would be another Friday or another Monday right around the time of the other district-wide day. So.
And you may not know this, but maybe we can find out. Typically, the Veterans Day Parade in San Angelo is on a Saturday, regardless of when Veterans Day falls that week.
Correct.
I just have 3 comments. Farrah, I appreciate the information about April being the long haul, because we hear from teachers after spring break, it's a long time to May. And just knowing the reasoning behind why there's not a holiday in April is a huge difference. You know, when we say the state is testing days, that makes sense. So I think if we can get the word out that there's not a holiday because we don't want it to be, it's because, you know, just to give the evidence of why, the why. The Easter holiday on Monday, I think is, for me, would be a non-negotiable. I think that's highly important for parents that travel, for families, because Easter has become a big family, I don't want to say holiday, but it's just a gathering. And I think it's important to honor that for ours that travel. Veterans Day on a Wednesday, I thought about that a lot today, and I see both sides. I do think that sometimes, you know, we are all about attendance, but I think there are days when that can't be our focus. So I think if a family that works at the military base and it's their holiday and they want that day to be an absence for their child to do something, I'm okay with that. But I also think we have a lot of kids that's not the case. And we're in the business of educating. And I think if we use that day in a out-of-the-box thinking way to educate our children about what is Veterans Day. Today, as I was driving, I was thinking of the things that we could do, you know, in English, use that time to, as a school or a district, write letters to the veterans or to our active members. In history, learn about it. When we were at the city council meeting this past week, and those 2 veterans were there, and that sweet man in his walker, he touched my heart, and I thought, there is going to be a time where we won't have veterans alive. So, and those men want their story to be heard, or women. They want their story to be heard, to sit down with children and just share a little bit, to invite them into our schools. I think if we looked at Veterans Day as a huge big picture and I'm thinking having a committee to come up with these activities, it could be a huge learning thing for our kids. And maybe I'm very American, but I think that we as a whole society is lacking in that, and we could use that as for education.
Other questions regarding the calendar?
Just a quick question, more just out of curiosity. So they get under the one where they get the Monday after Easter off. So they would be off for 6 days from the 12th to the 19th for spring break. And they're back for 4 days, and they're off for another 2 days, like 4 days with the weekend. Like, does that 4 days at 2 weeks, is that productive 4 days? Like, can you teach during it, or is it just disruptive?
Can you teach? Yes. Should you teach? Absolutely. So I'm glad you brought that up because we had a lot of discussion around that. Again, I'm not trying to confuse anyone by going back and forth on calendars. But where we are currently, we're already far in the spring semester. So this spring, our instructional planning day is the Monday after Easter. So then there were conversations even around that, but it depends on where the holiday falls, Dr. Mills. And so some said, well, we really want that. We want to be able to come back and have it. But then you would have 3 days. So having those conversations, when you have less than 4 days, it does make it productive, or makes it an issue for everyone to take the productivity to the same level of urgency that we want every day. So, but a 4-day week can absolutely be maximized. When you start getting below 4 days, we really work to communicate with our parents in the community. Next week, every day, we are here through Friday for a reason with early release, but we need students every day through that early release time on Friday.
All right, thank you.
Farrah, I will say that I think what I have seen and heard this year is we have taken teaching and learning to a high level, and every day is an instruction day. I haven't heard of free days or play days. So as a district, I think that we're doing that. There's a thing that we used to say bell to bell, learning from one bell to the next bell. And so I want to applaud our teachers and our staff and our schools that I'm seeing that this year, really working hard at that.
Any other questions for Dr. Gomez? So, Dr. Gomez, just maybe we need an option C. Based on what I heard for one board member, Monday was non-negotiable, so we may need to look at no Veterans Day and a Monday holiday, and just so that we can have all three of those options for the board to look at next week, and then
Absolutely.
Go from there. And so, as always, school calendar, favorite part of the year. All right. Any other questions? All right. So we do need to go into executive session. We're going to do that under real property, 551.072, and under personnel matters, 551.074. And we'll be back as quick as we can. All right, we are back from executive session. We took no votes. There was no action taken. And so we are back in session, and now we're adjourned.